Welcome back to Psychology with Mr. Snyder, and today we are taking a look not at the trait approach or the psychoanalytic approach to personality, but the learning approach. And there's two different phases to the learning approach: behaviorism and social learning theory. Your learning targets today are going to be to explain how behaviorism feels personality develops, how social learning theorists feel personality develops, and identify the strengths and weaknesses of the learning approach. So let's go ahead and get started. Behaviorism, obviously the fathers of this are John Watson and B.F. Skinner, and they claim that personality and learning is due to the rote process of reinforcement. External influences shape people's preferences and behavior. And Skinner emphasizes the effect of reinforcement on behavior and rejected trying to see what was going on in people's minds as unscientific, as Watson did when he began studying behaviorism. And behaviorists also believe in the process of socialization. So Watson and Skinner don't like the ideas of personal freedom, choice, and self-direction. They believe external influences such as parental approval are the things that help develop our personality. And socialization is the process that humans go through to learn socially desirable behaviors. Now, social learning theory. Whereas behaviorism focuses on the importance of reinforcement, social learning theory focuses on the importance of observation. And so we learn social behaviors by observation and observing others and then modeling that behavior. And that affects our cognitive processes, and those produce individual differences between me and other humans. We remember Albert Bandura from his study of the Bobo doll. He argues, and he's a social learning theorist, but he kind of breaks away from social learning theory and begins his own perspective. And Bandura argues that any behavior that can be learned from direct experience can also be learned by observing and modeling other people. He did some studies, and one study showed that children who witnessed a violent action were more likely to repeat that action. And another study showed that children who would not copy an adult's behavior if the adult was punished for that behavior. So if they witnessed the adult being punished, they would not do and imitate the behavior that the adult did. And think about that in the Bobo doll experiment. If it was acceptable for the kids to hit the doll, then they did. But if they observed an adult being punished for hitting the doll, then they would not do it. These studies suggest that children learn from society what it deems acceptable behavior by watching and modeling others. And these findings provide the basis for social cognitive theory, which is a subset of social learning theory. And social cognitive theory basically says that personality is shaped and learning happens by the interaction of three things: personal factors, behavior, and environmental factors. And I'll show you a little diagram that you can draw to help you remember that here in a second. It presents a way to understand and even predict human behavior. So while behaviorism looks at, reinforcement to describe human behavior and personality, and social learning theory looks at observation, social cognitive theory says it's all based on purposeful learning. Or so individuals learn about their environments and have kind of a certain degree of control over how they are reinforced and what their reinforcement is. Behavior is not based solely on observation, and internal variables influence how we act. Those internal factors being our skills, our values, our goals, our expectations, and our self-efficacy expectations, or our own emotions or feelings about how we feel about ourselves. And here is the social cognitive model that Bandura put forth Personal factors, environmental factors, and behavioral factors all affect the red triangle in the middle of our personal development. So how do psychologists evaluate the learning approach? Well, it has made key contributions to the understanding of behavior, but it doesn't explain all of it. Some psychologists are upset that about the lack of importance placed on genetic factors in the learning approach to personality. Behaviorism doesn't even begin to describe, explain, or suggest the richness of our human experience. It doesn't deal with thoughts or feelings. It doesn't deal with what's going on inside your head because it doesn't think it's scientific. So social learning theory attempts to deal with these issues, but critics say it is not satisfactory enough, and neither of these theories pays attention to the genetic influences on personality. So to review your learning targets, we talked about Watson and Skinner's belief of personality development and socialization. We discussed social learning theory and social cognitive theory, and we finished with the strengths and weaknesses of the learning approach. That's all I have for you today. So it was a pretty short video, and hopefully you learned a little bit about Bandura and social cognitive theory and the rest of the learning approach to personality. And I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.